Ward 5 Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland, and you're here for another episode of the Ward 5 Women in Empowerment series. Today's guests are from the Renee Jones Empowerment Center, and I will introduce them to you now. First, we have Tracy Grasso and Annette Mango, and I'll ask you each to just tell me what you do at the Renee Jones Empowerment Center.
I've been the administrative coordinator. I've been there for 6 years at Renee Jones Empowerment Center. I started out as a volunteer, and now I work directly with Renee doing street outreach, program coordination, our social media coverage, newsletters, things like that.
Thank you. Annette?
My name is Annette, and I am a survivor with the Renee Jones Department.
Okay, and what I should say is our topic today is human trafficking, and the Renee Jones Center is a community organization. It's been around for a number of years here in this community and done a lot of great work, and primarily is helping men and women and children who are survivors of human trafficking get their lives together, get back on track, and become productive and healed citizens. Would that be fair?
Oh,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, now tell me just a little background on when did the Renee Jones Center Empowerment Center begin?
It opened its doors in 2002. At that point, it was just a community center. It was on West 65th. Lots of kids lived in the neighborhood at the time. In 2008 is when Project Red Cord started, which was primarily focusing on rehabilitating human trafficking victims and survivors. So Renee would join law enforcement and look into seeing what kinds of services weren't out there for women who were being trafficked. Then she became more aware of this situation and was trying to raise awareness. So since 2008, we've been doors open, services provided directly to human trafficking victims and survivors.
Okay. Now, let's talk about human trafficking. I think we hear a lot about it in the news today, but a lot of people really don't understand what it is and how big a problem it is. So can you tell our audience about that?
Okay, well, for me, human trafficking is, well, first of all, we have to know I'm a survivor. And at first, I didn't know I was human trafficked. It took me to go to court to keep getting arrested, and it was finally a docket. Judge Cassidy had a docket, and I was introduced to that docket. That's how I first found out about human trafficking.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Now, you were already involved in it, deeply entrenched in it, and you didn't realize what was really happening to you. So, yes. For people who are watching today, a lot of people have asked, is that slavery? Is it prostitution?
Yes.
Just tell us what it is. So
I'll do this. A lot of victims don't know they're being trafficked. They might be unaware of the situation because a lot of the traffickers can be someone that's familiar in their lives that they trust or know. The definition of human trafficking is basically using force, fraud, or coercion to lure victims into either forced labor or commercial sexual exploitation against their wishes. And a lot of times it's because of a vulnerability that anyone can have, that women, a lot of social media makes that happen a lot. And it is very much a form of modern day slavery. Absolutely, it is a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry that denies freedom to millions of people across the world, but primarily even in Northeast Ohio specifically.
And what a lot of people don't understand is that how I became a part of human trafficking is my addiction. I am also an addict. And being addicted to drugs, you can become human trafficked for your drugs.
So people in our community who are vulnerable, addicts, abused women, and missing children,
yes.
And it also can include men, right?
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely. It doesn't discriminate. That's one major thing we can say. There's no discrimination. It doesn't matter your age, gender, race, social, economic status. Everyone is susceptible. Everybody can be affected.
Okay. I've even heard that older people may be also victims of human trafficking.
Range at the center, actually, our youngest victim that we have served was 9, and our oldest victim that we've served is 66 years old. Okay. So yeah, there's quite a range.
It hits everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so. Annette, I know you have a compelling story, and I will ask you to share that story with us as much as you're comfortable sharing with us. But we want to get a real sense. we know the courts are involved, law enforcement is involved, and you're not law enforcement, but you work with the police and others to help victims of human trafficking. So what I want to say is there's a person who's a victim, they've gone through the system. Now what happens for that person who's been the victim?
I will answer that. I can answer that. As far as once that happens, not one agency can do this on their own, obviously. It's a collaborative effort throughout Northeast Ohio. There's the Cuyahoga Regional Human Trafficking Task Force, Project STAR, the Collaborative to End Human Trafficking, the Child and Family Services. All of these people are involved. Specifically for us, we work with law enforcement to help them recognize that there's trauma involved, that these women and men and children who've been trafficked have specific needs that need to be compassionate. They need to feel that these people aren't the criminal, but they're the victim. So that's in the steps leading towards that. We do rehabilitative services, things like that. And that's very personal story is different. Everybody's story is very different.
Very different. And that,
Well,
please share.
As being an addict, everything got out of control. I was actually in my late 40s when this got out of control. Back then, it wasn't why no one was talking about human trafficking. Not that we knew about it, and all I kept getting is arrested, being called a prostitute, going back and forth to jail, and that's all it was known as being. I was the one that was wrong for being out there, and it was always said that I made a choice. That's what I wanted to do. Even to the judges that I had, I was told, because I was in my age group, that I was a menace to society. Okay. I was messing up the neighborhoods. That's what all I wanted to do. Not knowing that there was things behind me that kept me out there, not only from my drug use, and I was getting help with my drug use. Mm-hmm. After all that, many rehabs, many people would encourage me. I had encouragement, but I also had people behind me that was willing to give me what I needed. It didn't have to do with what I wanted. Even if I wanted, I would come from rehab and I would be straight, and I run into somebody who I thought cared, and I end up right back many a times where I was at. Okay.
So a lot of times the victimizer
Yes.
is often, and maybe most of the time, someone very close to you or someone you have a relationship with.
Yes, or
And
we
a
have to
lifestyle
go
that
by
you're
the fact,
used to.
right, and then we have to go through the fact that it was the only place I had to go.
Right.
They didn't have places where, they'll send you to rehab, but for me not having no insurance, or I didn't have any money, I was left just out, and I had to fend for myself.
Okay.
To go there. So when the
What made the
trafficker,
difference this last time?
what made the difference this last time was I went to court, and this court offered me something different.
Okay.
And what they offered me is, they asked me if I wanted to join this courtroom. They didn't say, well, this is what you're going to do. This is the room. They came to me and said, do you want to join? And I said, of course, even though at first I thought it was going to get me housing, but it was different. Someone asking me instead of telling me what to do after all this time. So I went, and that's how, when I went there, a young lady was at the podium, and a Sister Cecilia, came up to the podium and gave this young lady a T-shirt. When she gave this young lady a T-shirt, I was like, wow, you giving her something? She don't have to do nothing for it? You're not asking her for it? Anything? And she said, no, all you have to do is come to the Renee Jones Empowerment Group. So the next day, I believe, I went to the Renee Jones Empowerment Group. And when I went in there because I wanted that T-shirt.
Okay.
When I went there, I sat there, and Tracy came from behind the where she was her desk at, and I'm sitting there, and it's this building, and it's small, and it's comfortable, it's colorful, and she said, Miss Renee will be right with you, and I said, who? And she said, Miss Renee. I said, the Renee Jones who own this place, who run this place, she's actually here. You know, right then and there, I fell in love with the Renee Jones because I knew it was personal.
Okay.
I knew that it wasn't someone just coming with a social degree, with somebody who been in the books or something that just saying, but this is what you're going to do, this is how I want to do it. So that became personal to me.
Okay, that's wonderful. And so now you're a volunteer,
She's
an
our
employee.
best social advocate.
That's great. That's great. And again, I know for most people who are in that situation and they're in court, it's going to take something other than the judge saying, get yourself together. And so that's a wonderful story, and that's a testament to the
Right.
success of the Renee Jones program and the fact that she came out and spoke to you, as I'm sure she does with all, everyone who comes to through your doors.
Yes.
Oh, that is really wonderful. Now you mentioned community outreach.
Yes,
and
Project
I know you,
Red Court
Project
Night Out.
Red Court.
That has just become an amazing thing that we can do. That we work. That's a great chance for other organizations to come out. It started on West 73rd in Lorraine over a year and a half ago, and it was our first. It was a pilot. Basically, we didn't exactly know what to expect, but instead of letting people come to us, which is sometimes really difficult because they don't have the means of transportation or the even knowledge that we're there. So Renee had this great idea that was like, you know what, we should bring our services to them. So we had a meeting and other people thought it sounded like a good idea. The Detroit Shoreway was involved at that point. And the first day, people did not know why we were there. Yes. It was amazing. We had Church of the Holy Angels had food, warm, delicious cooked food, homemade. We had bikes for the kids. We do toiletries. Renee Jones does toiletries and special self-care items, things that they don't always have access to, local resources that are available to them that they might not know about. So families just kept coming, and then word of mouth and drivers-by would see that we were out there, and it has grown into be a huge. We're into we go to 3 neighborhoods now. Okay. So we're in East Cleveland too.
Not mine yet.
We're in East Cleveland. We're Euclid and Page.
Right.
We are West 73rd in Lorraine, and we just started at our new location, Archwood and Pearl.
Okay.
So it's been amazing, and more people want to get involved because they can see what a difference it's making.
Well, certainly, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I would love to see something like that in one of my neighborhoods. We'll talk more about that
Stay
offline.
tuned. Yeah, it definitely could happen.
But you have to remember, as a survivor also, I was in all these places as a victim. And I see some of the people who I qualified with, who even trafficked me, out there where I'm at. And it's like, there's help. And the ones that I do see that traffic me, I'm like, there's a God, there's help.
Okay, that's an amazing testimony, amazing.
Yes.
Let me just kind of start to wind down. I started to share with you, I had an experience just yesterday where there was a young woman walking down my own street when I'm leaving out in the morning, and we remember it was cold yesterday, and all she had on was her underclothes. That's all she had on, literally. And she was walking down the street with her head down and trying to cover herself up. And, I was really just, number one, I was shocked. And then I was concerned. I said, maybe someone's after her, or maybe someone just attacked her. I don't know, of course, what happened to her. And, what should I do? So the only thing I could think to do was just to give her my coat to cover her up. And, she thanked me for it. And I gave her a couple of dollars. And she went into the store on the corner. But, this has haunted me ever since. Oh, yeah. And just knowing that I was going to be talking to you all today, I feel like I didn't do enough. So the first part of my question is, what are the signs? What do you look for, or what should we as an average citizen, or we as anyone in this community be looking for in terms of suspecting that maybe someone's a victim of human trafficking? And if we suspect that, what do we do?
Really what you just said, the most important thing is just to know that it exists around you. That if you have any inkling that might be happening, to trust your instinct. But before you can even know that might be a sign, like that is a red flag, what you saw specifically. There's several things, and it can be different in every situation, but like a lot of the indicators They don't talk. They're really submissive. They don't have any sort of identification or possession. They don't have the ability to leave if they wanted to, that they don't speak for themselves, that there's some sort of physical injury or abuse that's evident. And the people who should be very concerned and at least be educated and aware are, their friends or teachers, babysitters, coaches at their church, guidance counselors, family members, everybody who is, like you said, a citizen that could be aware, but trust your instinct. If you think that there's something wrong, then most likely there is. And it'd be better if by, helping and identifying and acknowledging them than not doing anything and then giving them more chances to be trafficked.
And I want to let you know that what you did
Yes.
was the best thing you had ever done. First of all, you didn't know if someone was watching her.
You were
or
active.
and you didn't put yourself in harm's way.
Right. Okay.
Second of all, what you did was you started something that brought something out of her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like somebody cared. So what you did was you gave her
Yeah.
your coat. She had to have been in the system before, or knowing that something came back to her in her mind that, okay, somebody care. Where did she go? Okay, she might have went to the store, but where did she end up? She went to a public place and knocked on that door. She could have went anywhere.
Right.
Right.
Anywhere else.
I tell
but
you,
she knows. She went to the school.
She went to the nearest elementary school.
So she knew that was a safe place. So you giving her that coat, it got something into her and reminds her that there is help out here.
You didn't drive by.
Right.
And you didn't think someone else was going to do it.
Yes.
And I think that's what's hard.
Yes, that's what
is
happened.
Making sure that
You know?
everyone is capable
You did your part,
of doing something.
but never put yourself in harm's way.
Okay.
And never put them in harm's way.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you did
I
what
was
you
more
did.
worried about that.
Yes.
thinking-
Yeah.
No, evidently she found her way. So this, she knows something. And she know where it is to get
And there
help.
are resources. There are numerous resources in various places. That we're honestly that will get that help.
Okay. Now, and you mentioned the various resources, but let's just start with you all. You're here today, and I really want to have a follow-up conversation
Yes.
with you.
We would love that.
In the studio. There's so much involved and so much information to share that I would love to do a part 2 to this
Sure.
to this interview. But why don't you give some contact information on how people can reach the Renee Jones Empowerment Center?
Okay, well, we are now on Archwood and Pearl, and we're in a new space. We have so much more room to give services to more clients, with more victims, more survivors. It's exciting. Our number is 216-417-0823, and that's directly to us, Renee Jones Empowerment Center. Project STAR is the Sex Trafficking Advocacy and Recovery through the Rape Crisis Center. And their number is 855-431-7827. That's something that is an amazing program for that. Our services at Renee Jones Empowerment Center, they're direct services for victims and survivors, and they are free. So we offer art therapy, we offer horse therapy, we do trauma-informed yoga, we have social outings, we have a wellness program. What else am I forgetting? Horse therapy.
We sit up there and be able to talk to each other about. We have the horse. Yeah,
A lot of
small
support groups.
That we sit up there. It is awesome. What they do is they believe in us. Mm-hmm. They give us something. The Renee Jones give us something that I know for me that I never knew that I could do, never knew I wanted to do. The Renee Jones has taught me to live. See, I always knew I was an addict and all the stuff that I was doing. I'm also involved in support group. I have a sponsor and everything. But for me, being in this position for so long, I knew there was something missing. Okay. And what was missing was living. And be able to live being an addict and being able to learn to do the tango, learning to do all these things, doing art therapy. I can do more than a stick figure now.
Well, and that's our approach, is exactly what you just said. Our approach is that we know everybody's different, that not the same thing is going to work for everyone. And basically, if Renee were here, it would say love. Like, there's so much love involved in knowing that when every person that walks that door, their story is different. It's never going to be the same. So providing the services that people receive differently is what is going to help them grow, is that there is no specific way that's going to help everybody. You have to cater to the needs that are being met. So that's a huge part of what we do, is recognizing the potential of each individual versus this will work for everybody.
That is wonderful, wonderful. Here's another point. I just picked up on from something you said earlier. Trafficking victims aren't necessarily kidnapped victims or people who are missing. They can be right under
In plain sight.
in plain sight at your kitchen table, next door to you. You see them every day going about their business. So
Well, yes, it's like I didn't know I was a victim. I had to actually be told, and I had to listen to what is being human trafficked, and found out that was me. That was me. We don't realize, as Black women, we have this pride. We have this pride to say, can't nobody tell us what to do, how to do it, when to do it.
We're strong.
We're strong. Not saying that other women don't know it, but African American women.
we've had to rely on that,
for
putting
so
that
long.
facade
We're not
forward.
supposed to. We have to. Our kids. We have to be strong for them. No one tells us what to do, but to find out that these traffickers, they know what to say and do, and give us just enough rope to make us think that this is what we're doing on our own. To find out, have you ever been somewhere and you couldn't leave? Have anybody ever gave you something, and after they gave it to you, you owe them?
Okay.
Have you ever went somewhere and you couldn't leave? Have you ever went somewhere and next thing you know, you're being told to go with somebody else because you owed it them?
You're like indebted.
In debt.
Right.
Okay.
Now you're in debt.
So you have to pay.
So
a
now you have to
favor.
pay the favor, and the favor comes with, this is what you better do. This is not what you can do, it's better do it.
Well, and even to get to that point there, the grooming process, they earn your trust. They're feeding you, they're getting your hair done, like they're making you feel like you're somebody really incredibly important and special to them. And then it turns on you because they gain that trust. But the grooming process is one of the ones that flattery, and they
Yes.
make you think you're in charge. You've said that before.
Very, very
They make
much.
you think you're the one in control.
Okay.
When really it's really quickly turns on you that way.
Or you out there smelling and you look a hot mess, but they're telling you
Right.
that you are the best out here. Or you have another woman coming to you, asking you if you need someplace to go. Do you need someplace to, they call that, they're grooming them so they can groom us.
Right.
Okay.
See,
it just
so it continues.
Well,
It
on that
continues.
fact, important, what other things that have brought awareness is that like hair salons and parlors and beauty salons need to be trained in recognizing the signs of human trafficking now because of that awareness. So things like that happening are really promising to raise that awareness, because they can't get certified again until they've taken this class, which is recognizing the signs and red flags of human trafficking. Because if a trafficker brings their woman in to get their hair done, they can get them separate from their trafficker. They can ask, are you okay? Do you need help? With some sort of, even non-body sign that tells them they need help.
Okay, so the state of Ohio requires this.
They do. It's
But never
really
put
progress.
no one in harm. If they say yes, you have to go through the proper.
You do.
You have
to contact.
because you do not want to take someone out of a situation that they end up being back in that situation and being harmed.
Right. Right.
So we want to help everybody, but we might not be able to help them right then and there, but we can get it moving now. If it's in a strict emergency, of course, but I always say, don't take someone out the situation that you can only help for a day.
Right.
You have to I always look at what's going to happen in a month, what's going to happen
Long
in
term.
6 months.
Right.
Do you have some place for them to go? When it first started for me, I had nowhere to go. You might put me to rehab or somewhere, but where was I going to go after I left the
that.
rehab?
Right.
Where we are opening a lot of rehab centers and places for people to go, but for human trafficking, you need somewhere else to go. You
Okay,
need
so
somewhere else to heal.
There has to be a holistic,
A
long-term
holistic-
program in place
yes,
for a
Exactly what
person.
it is.
which the Renee Jones do provide.
Okay.
Renee always says it's like the new AA. It's one of those things. It's a lifelong process that you constantly need
Okay.
to pay attention to and get help.
Yeah, every day,
Right.
one day at a time.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Just great work. And Tracy and Nat, I am just so happy that you came on today.
We're happy to be
Again,
here.
you know,
Happy to be here. Thank you.
we're going to be in touch for quite a while because, you know, I represent a community. You know, largely low-income communities. A lot of young single mothers with children who are vulnerable. To boyfriends and husbands and older relatives and older men in the community. And so, I can just see now where we need your help.
Yeah, absolutely.
We in our community need your help, and I applaud you for the work that you do every day. I know it's not easy. I know it's got to be stressful and emotional, but it's got to be rewarding as well.
It's inspiring and it's very rewarding.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like to say a very big thank you to Renee Jones for following her dream and her vision. I know she started, very small.
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
And today she's just doing great work for so many people in our community.
Thank you for letting us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, for talk about it.
And again, thank you to my guests today, Tracy Grasso and Annette Mango from the Renee Jones Empowerment Center. They've shared with us a wealth of information for how to help victims of human trafficking. Thank you for watching this episode, and I look forward to seeing you and talking to you on our next episode of the Ward 5 Women Empowerment Series.